Hey, how's it going, everybody?
Good.
Good. Glad to have you all here. We got a few people in the room here tonight. Some unfamiliar names here. So welcome to some of the new participants. Glad to have you here. I am Robert Vincent. I am the Market Center Technical Trainer here at Keller Williams in Portsmouth. And we're here talking today about Command 101. This is an ongoing series that we have. If you haven't attended this before, every month we restart the 101 series, and we basically begin from the beginning of the program and kind of work through contact to contract, and that's how we kind of treat this. Now that means we have typically between 4 and 5 classes that we do that, and then of course in the afternoons at 3 p.m. on Tuesdays we have the Command 201s, where we kind of bounce around different topics like marketing, website. Today we're doing the building your Facebook business page. And of course, in the mornings at 11 a.m. on Tuesdays, we do DocuSign workshop. And that's going pretty well. I'm having a lot of fun with that. What do you think about that one, David? Getting some good stuff?
Yep, I certainly am.
Excellent.
I
Glad to hear.
realize that if I'm going to do this quickly or as quick as possible, then I need to learn the tools that are out there. Otherwise, you just spin your wheels.
Yeah, yeah. And, it's a pretty broad set of tools, and it can be a little bit overwhelming sometimes when you have a lot of things that you're trying to work with. But hopefully, my job here is to try and make it simple for you, to keep it easy, and make it so that you can get what you need done without the tech getting in the way.
Well, I decided to take the classes because the people I was asking questions for were answering the questions, but they were answering them so damn fast that I couldn't follow anything that they were doing. So to do it the second time was, pretty near impossible. So good
Well,
job so far.
I do tend to talk a little fast, so if I get ahead of you, just feel free
Trust,
let me
trust me, you don't even approach New York speed like these people.
know. That's true. Yeah, that's true. All right, I'm going to share with you what you saw when we got fired up here. Just getting going with the Command 101, creating and managing your opportunities, and we're going to talk a little bit about what we're going to cover. So what we're going to look at today is setting up a contact, which is, as we know, the most important part of the contract or the opportunity is the contact. And I'm going to show you how to make so that when you do this one time, it will go through the entire system, and it will not bother you again, and you'll have everything you need going forward. And the second thing we're going to do is creating the opportunity from within the contact. So every opportunity is created from the contact. We don't go to the opportunities screen or the opportunities app to create the contact. We always go to the contact itself. Then I'm going to show you something that some of you may not have seen before. Inside of an opportunity, to manage that opportunity, which is the basics of what we're going to be doing today, I'm going to show you a thing called checklists. And I'm going to show you how checklists can make your workflow so much better. And I've got a little bit of a handout for you today. If you guys use Excel, I've got a really cool Excel template for you that you can have. And that will help you build your checklists. After you see what they look like and see what they can do, we're going to build a checklist. Well, not an entire thing because there's so many options, but we're going to build the ideas behind a checklist, and I'm going to give you that Excel file. So that is what we're going to cover. And of course, to start off, we'll always begin over here in Command, and here we are. All right. Can everybody see Command okay on my screen here? Good deal.
Yes.
Robert, this is Dan Whitney.
Hey.
I'm
Hey,
Dan
Dan.
Newbies. That spreadsheet file sounds like really cool. How would I receive that? Would I through this Zoom session, or would you be providing a link or something somewhere that we
I
can?
will be dropping it in the chat, which you can download directly from the chat. As a matter of fact, let me do that now and get it started. The thing is, I don't want you guys to open it up yet, because in looking at it, you'll start to think about things that I don't want you to think about yet. So don't open it up yet.
All right.
But let me go ahead and I will save this for you to send it over in the chat. All right. Ba-ba-ba. All right, one of these, desktop, there we go. Boom, okay. All right. Dropping it in the chat for you here. I don't know if I can drop it in the chat of the Facebook group. I don't think you can put Excel files in there. So if you're watching on Facebook and you want the Excel file that I'm going to show you in a little bit as an opportunity checklist designer, let me know and I will send it to you via email. Okay. All right. So I dropped it in the chat for you there. All you got to do is click on it to open it up. And when you do, well, I might as well show it to you. Let's start with that. I might as well. Okay. So let me go over here. I'll put that in Facebook. There we do. Get this over here. And I'm going to swap that out to Excel. Okay, so what you're looking at is an Excel spreadsheet. I'm going to back up a little bit. If you've got it on your screen, you can open it up and see it a little more closely. And what it comes down to is there are stages and phases within opportunities. And the stages and phases basically, as you move through the process of working with your opportunities, you're moving through the phases first, and then within each phase is a set of opportunities. So let me start off with the listings tab here and show you what this kind of looks like. And then we're going to go all the way back and deal with it inside context. So there is the cultivate phase, which is one of the first steps of when you get an opportunity started. As a matter of fact, the cultivate phase watch stage is every opportunity is by default created and placed into this section right here. So the checklist or the tasks that you want to perform while something is in this stage within this phase, you can set it up, and this little guide here allows you to kind of brainstorm and put things together, the order in which you want them, whether or not the client is going to be updated when something occurs, which is absolutely one of the most powerful tools that we have here. Also, if you're, you can assign the tasks. Now, keeping in mind that assignment of tasks has been improved, and I'm going to be going over some of that. If you're on a team, it's a real big part of what's going on inside of a team opportunity. And then, of course, the due date for those tasks to be done. The most important part here is that client update portion where you can set something to happen. And once you check it off, the client is notified and they receive a little email saying that that's been done. So if you just look at it as one piece here, cultivate and watch, and you can basically repeat that idea for every one of the phases inside of a listing opportunity, inside of buyer opportunities, and inside of leases. And in many cases, you'll find that the same checklists will apply, or a majority of the items in checklists will apply to each of these. But the reason that there's no pre-built ones is because everybody does things a little bit differently. So you may want to do step one here, and maybe it's going to be over in the hot stage, or maybe it's going to be in scheduling, whatever. So you can build this the way you want. So I'm taking it out of context, but the idea you get here is that each phase and stage can have its own checklist that you can go through and update the client in the process of doing it. So I'm going to switch over now, and I'm going to show you command, and we're going to talk about how this will be great, but you've got to really be careful about the planning process, because if you don't do it just right, you're going to get yourself tied into knots. And my goal here is to not get you tied into knots. Okay, so let's go back. We'll start at the very beginning here. We're going to start by creating an opportunity. And in order to do that, and for those of you who are new to command, and then this is a 101 class, I'm going to do it from the basics here. We do not create opportunities in the system without creating a contact first, because we can't. In order to create an opportunity in the system, you have to have a contact. So you always start there. Now I've got some contacts in here already. So I'm just going to pull one of the contacts that I actually used this morning. And I've got a contact in here named John Morgan. Now, if this doesn't look familiar to you, we are in week 3 here. We've gone over the contact areas. The videos for the first 3 weeks are available on kwtechtube.com, and you can go watch those there. And that is our tech Did it load up? No. My links aren't working today. Fine. Ignore that little chat message. We'll go over, I'll show you those in a little bit. Okay, so here's my contact. Already in existence. I've got a phone number. I've got an email. I got a tag on this guy. So I'm going to open up the contact. Now, when you create a contact, many times you're going to find that you might have just a phone number and a name, or maybe just an email and a name. And technically, that's all you need to get the contact into the system. But I want you to be aware that the more information that you're able to add to the contact here before you go into the opportunities area to create opportunities, the better. Because all of the information that you enter here, not all of it, much of the information that you enter here is actually used in the opportunity, which in turn is used in DocuSign to complete the documents and get those ready for signing. So this is the home base here of everything. So the more information, and I'm not going to go through this right now because we've done these in the previous classes, but the more information you have about this contact, the better, okay? Including if you have a contact who is going to be a co-buyer, co-seller in relation to the person that you're working with right here. So in this case, John Morgan has a relationship of Jackie Astudo. If Jackie Astudo was the co-buyer or co-seller on an opportunity, by adding her here as a related contact, you are taking about 3 or 4 steps off of working with the relationship and the documents later on. So little things like that make a big difference in terms of simplifying the process and making it so that you can get your work done easily. Okay. So now with the contact on the left here, we're going to go over to the right-hand side. Notice once again that I am not going to the opportunities area. I am going inside the contact, and I'm going to the right-hand side, what we call the timeline here, or the activities tab. And there is timeline, opportunities, smart plans that they've been added to, any tasks that you have to perform for this contact, notes, and saved searches where you can create customized searches for your contact and have those sent out daily, weekly, monthly, and they can receive information on listings that are coming available based on their specific needs. But right now we're looking at the opportunities. We've got a little underline here, and we've got 3 opportunities right now that have been created for John Morgan. And they're by date, October 26th. I did that this morning. And then we did one on we actually did 2 on October 20th. And October 20th, this was the first one that we did. Actually, yeah, the first one, second one. I think it's first, second. I think the oldest ones go on the bottom. So here, and you can see that John is actually a co-seller or co-buyer on the opportunities down here. He's not the primary. Up here on the top, he is the primary. So it depends on who is the main signer on the contract. So we're creating John as the main signer first, and then if we add Jackie, Jackie would be the co-signer or the co-borrower or co-seller. All right, so let's go ahead and create an opportunity here. We click on the Create Opportunity button, and this dialog box pops up. You'll notice that at the top of the dialog box, you can select some of the information here, but some of it's also grayed out, and so it depends on how you are built, if you're doing something inside of a team or if you're doing things on your own. But basically, the first 3 boxes here: the Market Center for Portsmouth, which is where we are. If you are a member of multiple market centers, and we do have some agents who are dual market centers up here in New England and down in Florida. If that's the case, then you can select the correct market center for what you're doing for this opportunity. If you are a part of a team, you can select that team name. If you are a part of a team that requires you to build all opportunities within the team, you cannot change this. That will be grayed out. So if you're part of a team where all opportunities belong to the team, then this will be set to the team and you won't be able to take it out of there. Next up is the opportunity type. Now, for those of you who might have seen this maybe a month ago, or if you've worked with this at all in the past, previously the default opportunity type was listing. That's the way it looked when you built the screen. Now they finally took it out so that it defaults to nothing, which means you'll have to pick listing, buyer, landlord, or tenant. And the reason they did that is because a lot of people would go and create opportunity and they wouldn't pay attention to this box. And they would create it accidentally as a listing when it was a buyer or a landlord or a tenant. And you cannot change it after you hit create. So a lot of opportunities were ending up in the dumpster because they were created wrong. And all you can do is really at that point is throw it away. So this way, by setting it blank at first and then having you select what it is, it's kind of forcing you to be a little bit more focused on what you're doing at the moment. So right now, I'll go ahead and choose a listing for this one. And on the right-hand side, it says owner. This would also tie into a team, depending on your team agreements, whether the team rainmaker was the owner of the opportunity or if it was under the team, but you were still the owner yourself. So that's something to just be aware of there. For those of you that are on teams, I would recommend strongly talking to your team rainmaker, your admin, about how this process goes. I'm sure they'll be happy to give you the information that you need. Now, because we created this opportunity within the contact themselves, we've got John Morgan here. He automatically populated as the client. If we had created this opportunity from the Opportunities tab or the Opportunities applet, then this would have been blank and we would have had to search for, in this case, John Morgan. And this one reason would be enough for me to say to you, always create the opportunity from within the contact, because it populates the contact that you're looking at. If you've got the right person, I guarantee you're going to have the right opportunity, because this is a very small planet and there's a lot of John Smiths. There's probably a lot of John Morgans out there. So if you happen to have a couple of them in your database, this is a way to make sure you got the right one. Okay. Co-seller, and notice that if we pop this down, we already are seeing the related contacts as options to load in as as co-seller if we wanted to. Now, I'm not going to put this one in here right now. I'm just going to leave this without putting a co-seller in. So we're just going to develop this opportunity under John Morgan. Now, in our market center, one of the things that we do require is in the opportunity name, you need to put the property address. It makes sense in a listing because you're going to know the property that's going to be listed. It may not be in the MLS yet because you might be in the early stages of this where it's not that far along. And remember, as we go through this, I'm going to be discussing the pipeline and your business flow of the opportunities through that pipeline. This is the very beginning stages. We are literally just creating an opportunity. So this property probably isn't in the MLS yet. And if it is, you're missing paperwork because you're too far along in the paperwork and the opportunity is lagging behind. But in the case of the listing here, that works. In the case of a buying side, you may not have the property yet, and that's okay. The listing side, you're going to have it, put it in here, 123 Main Street, and maybe we'll go with Epping on this one, okay? That's fine. If you don't have it because it's a buying opportunity, when you do finally get it, you can come in here and place it in there. Now, the rest of this stuff I'm going to be brief about because we don't need to go over all of this just now, but you do have the option to add tags for your opportunities, which are not the same as tags for contacts. It's not even the same list of tags. And this can come out in handy if you're organizing all your listings, if you're organizing all your listings by business and all your businesses, your future opportunities, dual agencies, buyer opportunities. You can create any amount of tags that you want to kind of organize your opportunities. And that comes in handy on the Opportunities applet or the Opportunities tab in Command.
So in this, you can either select or create your own tag.
Correct. You can create a new tag here by just typing in the name of the tag and then clicking on Create New.
Okay,
just like you
good.
can in the tags area inside Contacts. If you have an estimated close date, go ahead and put it in here. If you do not have an estimated close date, leave it blank. Little caveat. If you put a date into this field, and I'm not going to select one, because if you put any date, you can't blank it out or remove it so that it looks like this again. You will always have to just update the date. So if you're not sure that you want to add an estimated close date in here and you don't want to be cluttered with something in there, leave it blank. If you have an estimated date, leave it in there, and you can always update it at any time. All right, next up is the listing price. I strongly urge you to put a listing price in here, even if it's going to change. And I'm going to give you evidence of that in a moment. But right now I'm going to put in $500,000 here, just as a nice round number. The reasons are going to become apparent later, but a lot of people skip this. And if you skip this value, then you're reporting for your GCI, you're reporting for your probable income, your possible income, your pipeline. It all gets thrown off. So if you're going to use your pipeline, and I'll show you what that looks like in a few minutes, then you have to put a value in here to gain any meaning to the pipeline. Okay? And yes, this number can always change later. The commission rate is a required field, so you got to put your commission rate. This is for one side of the deal. This is for the listing side of the deal. If you are doing a dual agency and you're going to have to create two opportunities, a buy side and a list side, you are listing the commissions separately. Okay? Now, down at the bottom, here's that opportunity phase. And we talked about that in the Excel file. And I showed you that the default entry level to the pipeline is Cultivate and Watch. That is literally like you open the door, you're in the Cultivate and Watch stage. Okay? So this is the default. If you are further along when you're creating the opportunity, you can change it. You can say, well, I'm actually further along. This one just kind of happened and we're already at the appointment stage, or I'm signing documents today. Totally fine. But the default is to put you in Cultivate and Watch. So
does this update as you go through?
Manually. This does not automatically move the opportunity through the pipeline. Excellent question. And it's one of the biggest kind of, what am I word? I'm looking for. If you're not managing the pipeline, then you're going to end up with everything clumped in the first section, and you're not going to have any value to the pipeline. And this is why, as a new agent, what I tell people is, look, it's great to get in the practice of managing your pipeline, but the value of the pipeline comes in volume. When you actually start to see numbers and they're moving through different things or in different phases and stages, and you actually start to see the reporting tell you this is your business. But when you have one or two opportunities, they're so scattered. One might be at the right at the closing table this week, and one might be 6 months from the closing table. They don't give you as much data, but you will have to manually manage your pipeline, and I'll show you that in a moment too. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and click Create. So when I create it, it takes me back to the contact screen and it adds my brand new opportunity. And I put in here, this one was this morning and this one was just now. So the most recent one goes on the bottom. Okay. And so also you'll notice that the stage and the phase for the one this morning and the one right now are the same because they were both created without making any changes. And that's the default where they land. The commission here, $385 at 3%. The commission down below here for this one is coming in at 3%. Let me just click on that opportunity right now. And I want to come down to the bottom and you can see that in the details of the opportunity, there's our $500,000. There's the commission rate and there's the commission itself. So if I go back and take a look at this for a second, I want you to notice something. This opportunity in the same stage with essentially the only difference is the housing, the property price. 385 is listed here, 3% in parentheses versus just the 3% here. And the reason for that, just so that you know, is that this opportunity has been created in DocuSign and it's actually flowing through the process. It's got more details, including the listing information. Now, just because we put an address in here doesn't mean that it's a listing, right? This, however, has a listing. And that's where this information is coming from, is the listing. So this, no listing's been attached, may not exist yet. This one, a listing exists and has been attached. So little kind of hints and clues there of what you're looking at. Okay. Now, having said all that, let's look at the opportunity. You'll notice when I click this, I want you to see what happens. When I click the opportunity to open it, it's going to automatically move me to the opportunities section, but it's not going to take me here to the opportunities homepage or the opportunities dashboard, because we still can't see the opportunity when it's here. It's buried somewhere amongst all of these numbers. But if we come here to the opportunity within the contact, and if we click on the opportunity here, it will open the opportunities area as it does, you can see here, but it takes me directly into the opportunity and it lands me on the details page. Now, why? The details page contains all of the information that, once again, is going to go to DocuSign for signature process, including the listing itself, the buyer information, the team, the tags, all this stuff, including the pricing, the scheduled events like the dates for appointments, agreements, contracts, closing dates, all of that stuff. Everything is in here, okay? Much of this information will end up in DocuSign as we go through. So if we don't put it in here, it's not going to end up in DocuSign. Then we're going to have to manually enter it there. Not fun. So first things first, at the top of the screen, we have the name of our contact. And when we click on the name of our contact, we can see our phone number and our email, and we can jump right back into the contacts area and view that contact from here. So we don't have to go to the contacts and then go searching for them. It's a lot faster. We see the name of the opportunity up here, and if it doesn't have the address in it, we can always add it later. The name of the opportunity is also listed here, and in fact, that's where you would actually click the edit button to change the name, and I'll open that dialog box in a moment. Next up is the listing. Right now, there's no listing selected. Now, this right here, I'm going to slow down, and I want to talk about very carefully for you. If the property is in the MLS, then you can click this button to search the MLS, because it's going to look for it only in the MLS. This search option, when you click that button right there, select from listings, when you do that, that's looking in the MLS. As a matter of fact, you will see that every one of these has an MLS ID number, okay? If the property that you want to put into the opportunity is not in the MLS, that's fine. But you can't use this box to find the property because it's not going to see it. But you can come down here to the property section on the lower right here, and you can add the property information without the MLS information. So this is just a property search by address. 123 Main Street, Epping. Okay? And here it is. This is basically a Google search, as if you're looking for an address. But watch what happens here. When I put the property information in, it's essentially doing literally the address. Nothing about the property, because this is not an MLS information. This is not anything to do with the MLS. So if I hit save, it does put the property information in here. So I've got it all right there. And it adds the property information to the listing area, but it is not a listing. When you click on the listing now, you can see that there's a placeholder for an image and the address that you entered, and that's it. Okay? The reason I'm slowing down and talking about this is because if you do this way, by adding the address and assuming that it's going to update with the MLS information when built, what's the MLS number, how many bedrooms, what size, all that MLS information is not attached to this opportunity yet. And why does that matter? Because okay. Inside of the Keller Williams answer system, and I don't want to answer you, so stop ringing. my computer's ringing over here on the side. Inside of the Keller Williams answer system, if I type in sync DocuSign, there's a little article in here called sync opportunity details with the connected DocuSign room or dot loop. And I'm going to drop this into the chat right now, and you can go look at that at the same time. This tells you what information will pull when you sync the DocuSign or dot loop room. It pulls your information from the white pages. It pulls the opportunity attached listing information into DocuSign, and it imports the opportunity offer details, including seller 1 and 2, the close dates and the actual dates and the pricing and everything. This information is synchronized with DocuSign. If this is not an actual MLS, if it's just that, then all you get is that. You don't get anything about the property. You just get the address. Whereas all this stuff goes over if you have a listing. So now, how do you fix it? So it's been a week. Let's just play with time for a moment. We got a little time machine. You had the address in there first. You finally got it updated in the MLS, and you want to make sure that all this cool stuff goes to DocuSign to populate all of your documents. So then you come back up here to the address in the listing area, not the property area. Click on that and hit remove, because now you don't want the physical address, you want the MLS. It wipes it all out, it cleans it out and says, okay, go get your listing. Select from listings, you come in here, do the search as required. And there is my actual listing with the MLS number, all the stuff, everything we need, and we click select. Now the difference here is, check it out. You click on this and you actually see the MLS information. Now all of that hidden detail that you don't see on this screen, including year built, listing, all this stuff, is now ready to go to DocuSign. Okay, little pause. How's everybody doing on that?
I got a question. Is Dan Whitney?
Dan, hit me.
Is there a mechanism or methodology to putting an opportunity in as a FSBO? You know, somebody who'll never hit MLS, but you're you're getting interested in to help do it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's what this property is for things that are not in the MLS.
Okay.
So
right.
what
we just stay in that mode, because unless you talk them into allowing you to list it, right?
Right. No, the thing about this is it's giving you two ways to work: with a property only, where there's no MLS involved, or where there's if an MLS gets involved, then you can put it in here to bring that extra information in. Now, if you doing something like a FSBO and you're working with it just property wise, remember, none of this information really exists, because there's no MLS. You can still populate this information minus the listing address, or the listing number, or whatever, the MLS number. You can populate all that in DocuSign manually. That information does not exist in command, but it does exist as fields in DocuSign. So you can put those in manually.
So that would be persistent to the opportunity that's in DocuSign at the moment, right?
Yeah, well, right now there isn't anything in DocuSign. All we're doing is setting up what goes in.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Right.
Got it.
So we haven't created the DocuSign room, and that's kind of like all this pre-work. Which, by the way, I'm 37 minutes into yapping about this. The real process to do this takes about a minute and a half. Okay. Good question, though. All right, so now we've got our details all filled out here for what we have. We have a proper MLS in here. We've got all the property. We got all the stuff here. We do not have a co-seller. I'm going to leave this one that way just for this moment, because I'm going to expedite the process for you. Next up is, once we're ready, we can then move to the documents area, and we can start working on the document process. Now, I skipped over the seller profile here, because what's really in here is whether or not this person, John Morgan, has connected with you with their mobile app, and they are in your database, and they are receiving updates, and they have connected as a consumer in the consumer app. Separate topic, and I'm going to cover that separately. Although I am going to be referring to it when we start talking more about the checklist in a moment. Okay. So we'll skip over it for now. We'll go to the documents area. So in this documents area, if you haven't seen this before, you basically start on the left-hand side and you tell the system what kind of a document checklist you want to use to move through and make sure you get all the right documents for this opportunity. When you click this, you will see New Hampshire listing checklist, Maine listing checklist, mass, commercial, and new construction. Now, this is going to be based on the fact that you created a listing opportunity. If this was a buying opportunity, the checklists would be different. So you have the option to choose those from here. Now, I'm going to choose, because it matches, I'm going to choose a New Hampshire listing checklist. The property's in New Hampshire, so a New Hampshire listing checklist. So what I end up with here is I end up with a new set of what we call folders, although they don't look like folders. There is a listed folder, and it's highlighted like a blue bar here. And in the listed section, all the documents that are going to be required to list the property are going to be here. They're broken down into 3 categories. They're broken down into required, conditional, and optional. And I can't possibly go through each one of these documents here, but things that are obviously required. You need the deed. You need the brokerage relationship form. You need the notice of consent of waiver of video and audio recording. These required documents. Anything that has an I next to it tells you something important about it that will help you decide how to proceed. If you're still unsure with a particular document on whether or not to proceed or how to proceed, make sure you reach out to compliance or to the brokers, Jen Vachon or Jason Westcott. Or better yet, show up for the Monday and Friday Ask the Broker and Back to Basics sessions that are held on YouTube or on Zoom. Those contract classes will help immensely get this kind of under your belt. The optional ones have the same thing. They tell you why it might be optional, but if you're not sure, reach out and ask someone to find out my opportunity is this. The conditional looks like it might be something I need. I wanted to verify it. So check with those. Don't call me. Don't ask me any of those. Should I use this form? What should I put in this field on this form? That's not my area, and I will never be able to answer those questions. However, I can tell you where to find them, and I can tell you how to work with them, but not what to put in them or whether you should or shouldn't. Okay, down in the last section here in the optional, some of this stuff is really just basically storage points for you to keep other things like notes, invoices, and receipts. It all has to do with the transaction. Not a lot of people do this. You might have a different structure for organizing your data, and that's okay. So you can always use whatever methodologies you want for those optional things. So this is something where, when you're trying to organize your real estate business, you'll want to think about it. Where am I going to keep all the CMAs associated with this one particular client? So let me give you a little bit of a left turn, because I always try to give you a little bit of an extra thing here. In terms of all the optional things that have to do with any contract, I'll go up here and you can see that that's under the listed. We had optional. Under the under contract, we have optional septic inspection reports, all these things. And in the closed area, we have some optionals. Well, specifically one. Now, if in any of these cases you have multiple documents that you want to put in here, for example, invoices and receipts, well, you could scan everything into a single document, but that means you got to do it, right? How about this? How about if I told you that everything that's optional we could store in one place, but still attached to the opportunity? Okay, check it out. I'm going to go back all the way to the top here. I'm going to show you that we're looking at the opportunity now, but it's all to do with John Morgan, because John is buying or selling the house, and this entire process is under John Morgan. I'm going to go back to John, my contact, and see how quickly I'm able to do this. Go back to John Morgan. And I'm going to come over here to Notes. And in the Notes area, if you use Google Drive, if you use Dropbox, if you use anything that is an online storage, you can put a folder in that online storage for John Morgan and then put in the www address here. And so, for example, if I have, and I'm just going to go ahead and jump into my Drive folder really quick and say, okay, so there's a folder in here in my Drive that I have, and it's called client files. And in my client files, I have folders for these 3 different things. I'm going to create a new folder for John Morgan. And that folder for John Morgan, I'm going to open. And I'm going to take that address, and I'm going to hit Control C. And I'm going to come back to my contact, and I'm going to put that address in the note. Okay, there it is. I'll close up that Drive folder so you can see what I'm doing here. And then anytime that I have documents that I want to put with this contact, with this opportunity, I can just select that, right click it and say go to, and I'm right in the folder, and I can take pretty much anything that I want here and drag it in, and it will put that full file in here with the names and everything all organized nice and neat. So not only am I keeping it with the contact and all the opportunities for the contact, I can create a new note for each opportunity if there's multiple opportunities. But I always have access, and it's a lot easier to maintain that than it is to try and use all these optional things down here. And I'm only referring to this for the optionals because on the conditionals, you'll have to put them in here. On the requireds, you got to put them in here. They need to be in their exact spots. But the optionals are a great way to not worry about different slots for all the things and just put them in one place. Okay? So a little bit of an organizational tip for you there.
Yeah,
Okay.
but they do place them under that contact's name, right? So
Yes.
it's a folder, but it's a folder within command, right?
Yes. Well, what I
mean,
just did was this folder is actually in Google Drive.
Google Drive, right?
Right.
But
So
if you drag and drop them in your opportunities, I think that's where you were,
mhm.
in your opportunities, then they're still listed under that name, right? But you have to go through and search.
Yeah, you just got to go back to the contact.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
that's the only like left turn that you would have to make. But again, the only reason I like to do it is because right now you're doing 3 different folders with slots everywhere, and it's really disorganized. Whereas in my case here, I got one folder. Yes, I could put things in folders here for organizational purposes, but at least I know everything's right here.
Okay.
Okay. So now let's talk about this checklist. Now, the reason I'm going to kind of inject that here is because at this point, we could start the transaction and go to DocuSign. All right. That's absolutely how we can do this. Remember, all of our information is here and good to go. But I've got classes on DocuSign, and we've got classes on how to do this document management process. But what I want to show you is this checklist thing. So up at the top of this opportunity, right up here, there is a bunch of little menu items here. We have client updates, which are currently in my database turned off, which means that if I have a checklist item that on that little Excel sheet that I showed you that said I want to update the client, I'd have to make sure I turned on my client updates so that those would go to the client. But any of those checklist items can be done right here. So I can go into my opportunity, into the checklist. And remember we talked about the watch phase and the cultivate phase. That's where this opportunity is because we just created it. All of the different stages and phases are available to add checklists to. And so this matches up to what I showed you on the Excel spreadsheet where we talked about inside of the cultivate phase, there is watch, nurture, and hot. The next phase after cultivate is appointment. So if I click to the next phase, it says, okay, so now you're in the appointment phase with scheduling, scheduled, kept, and then we move from there to active, staging, showing, negotiations, and an extra one, which we don't need to worry about, called legacy, which is for a different purpose. And then we move to under contract, escrow, inspections, appraisal, financing, clear to close, and then closed. Finally here. Now, each one of those sections can have their own checklist items. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and leave this for a second, and I want to show, why is the phone just continuing to ring? All right, gotta stop that.
You're popular.
I don't know. I can't. My computer. I've got the lid shut, so I can't turn the volume down on it right now. Anyways, so let's jump back over for a moment to the opportunities home page, and that's the dashboard for the opportunities. In the dashboard, here are those phases: cultivate, appointment, active, under contract, and closed. This is the lifeline, the lifespan of the opportunity. We know that the one we just created is in Cultivate, so I'm going to go into Cultivate, and we also know that it was for John Morgan. So I'm going to search for John Morgan, and here, when I do that, I can quickly find John Morgan, and here he is. Okay, so in this phase, the stage that he's in is watch. So cultivate and watch. Now, what items do I want to take care of while I'm here? Now, this begs the question, well, what's happening during the cultivate and watch stage? And this is something where I can't possibly tell you, because you need to determine what you're going to do at each stage and phase of the lifespan of this contract or this opportunity. So if we think about it though, cultivate and watch is a point in the entire lifespan of this thing where you just pulled the trigger on thinking that this might happen. And we can see that we have watch, nurture, and hot. And then of course we can go to appointment up here after that. So watch is just one of those things, like the conversation just begun. Maybe you just were talking with this person at a networking event, and they mentioned, oh yeah, you know, the wife and the kids are getting ready to leave. They'll probably be getting out of the house in a couple of years. And we were thinking about Miami Beach. Okay, to me, that's an instant flag that you're cultivating and watching this person, because you're not ready to show them houses in Miami Beach. You're not ready to put them into an appointment to get their house sold. You know what's going on in the future, and you just want to stay in touch. So what are some of the things that you would do in the cultivate and watch stage to stay in touch? Would they be aggressive, showing them houses in Miami Beach, showing them neighborhood and information in Miami Beach? What would you show them? What would you talk to them about? Would it be just, hey, I've got a great charity event coming up this weekend or in May, and I just wanted to let you know about it. It has nothing to do with real estate, but you're just keeping top of mind. So what's your approach to staying in their mind without literally going down and saying, hey, let me sell your house for you? This is where the checklists can really come in. So we're going to look at this and say, okay, in the watch checklist, if I edit the stages here and I look at this, I can say in the watch, probability is 5% this thing's going to actually turn into a deal. But in the checklists, I'm going to say and add an item here. And the add item is going to be add to smart plan for charity events. Now, this, you could put anything you want in here. Charity events, you could put for open houses, you could put anything you want. And I'm just using one thing. And I'm going to hit save. Okay? And this needs to be a client update or something where I send to them. Now, this is more of a task for me. I'm not going to send them an email that says add to smart plan or charity events. I'm not going to do that. But what I am going to do is I'm going to remind myself that I need to add anybody who hits this stage to a smart plan for charity events. So now I have a task to perform. Am I going to update them? Not now, not yet. They'll get the smart plan. I don't need to send them this email. Okay? Then I can also edit or delete that. Now, I can add additional ones in here, but I'm going to go ahead and hit save, and we're just going to have the one. So we have one item to do when somebody lands in this stage and phase. So I'll go back to opportunities. So in the cultivate, that's where they are. If I go in here and I can see that I've got a bunch of people in cultivate, Every single one of these people now has that task. Add to Smart Plan for charity events, because they're so early in the game that I don't want to start doing heavy communications about properties, but I just want to let them know that I'm around. So everybody that gets into Watch gets that notification. Okay. So now all I need to do is go in here and go, yep, I got to put them into a Smart Plan, and then check it off, and then go to the next person and say, okay, so they're done. They're in the Smart Plan. Okay. Have I put them in there yet? Oh no, I haven't. Let me get them onto that Smart Plan. Now, of course, you're adding them to the Smart Plan. Okay. So you're doing what you need to do. So as they move through, you're going to be doing different things with them, and different actions are going to take place. So now I'm going to switch over and show you that Excel file now, because now is the time to start looking at what that actually says and how we can use it. So let me switch.
If you don't want to send an update to a client, you don't have to, right?
Right. Absolutely. The checklist has the option to send an update, but mostly it's for you to do something or make an action or take care of something. Okay.
Okay. All right.
So here is that spreadsheet, and we're on the listings style here, or the listings pipeline. So we have Cultivate, we have Appointment, we have Active, and then we have Under Contract, and we have Closed. So this essentially is a place where you can build what you're going to do. Now, we call them tasks because they're going to be things that you're just going to need to complete. So adding someone to Smart Plan. Boom, add to Smart Plan for charity. That's what we just did. Are we going to do a client update? That is going to be a no, so I'm not even, I'll put an N there just so that we have clarity. Who's it going to be assigned to? It's just me as an agent, so these are all going to be assigned to me, so I'm not going to worry about that. The due date. Maybe you set the due date for these things as to be like 1 week from the time that you got this into the system, right? So put that in there. So you go through and you start adding all the things that you're going to do while somebody is here and in the watch stage. And then you do the same thing for nurture. Nurture turns into a little bit more. Nurture might be a point where they've started to say to you, yeah, you know what? We went down to Miami last week, and we just, a little vacation, found some really cool places. Really, what was some of the things that you liked about those places in Miami? Oh, well, the pool was great. With the pool, we got to have a pool. So what you can do here is say, all right, set up a smart search. Okay, and the smart search for the property types that they're looking for. And maybe it's going to be monthly. Okay, because it's still early in the game, but you're combining. Now they're getting all your charity stuff, and then now they're starting to see some Miami stuff come through, but they're only seeing it once a month. Maybe the next one here is hot, and now you're doing the same thing, Smart Plan for the searches, but it's now going to be bi-weekly. Same thing. So you add them to the Smart Plan, and then they get an appointment. Now that they've got an appointment, you're going to start to track all the things that you need to do. Get this document to them, get that document to them. Let them know that they've been pre-approved through client update. All of the things that you're going to be starting to look at as you go through the appointment process, the active process, the escrow, and then of course all the way on through the closed. Lots of things to think about. I've given you a blank slate to work with here. There are, I don't know, I think I have one. Actually, let me see if I have, there's another one that I think I used from a template that I saw somebody had created one. Oh, I don't have it. Too bad. I don't have it. I'll see if I can find you one that had some examples in it. But the idea is most of these people that I've dealt with, they're creating their own. They go, oh, that's nice, but I'm going to do it this way. Okay. So these checklists, now let me jump back into Command as we get ready to wrap up here. And the checklists themselves are all managed from within Command. So switch this, there we go. So If we go and take this one here where it says 1 of 1, we know that with that checklist item is to add to Smart Plan, and they've been taken care of. So whew, that's all done. That's good and fine and dandy. But when we take one to, I'll make it so that you can see it. The nurture stage is next. Right now, it has no item. So item 1, and I will do item 2. And I want you to see what happens here. So we now have 2 things to do when they're in nurture. So if I come back to my stages here, I can see that this one right here had 1 of 1, and that's complete. Now, when in the 2 of 2, or in the next phase here, next stage, when I drag this person across, it's going to apply the new checklist because these are new items to be done because they're now in another phase. So I go here, drop it in, and it says now you have 2 new things to do. The one previous thing is done, but you can see all of them by clicking on your checklist and saying, okay, I got these 2 new things to do. They're now in nurture and cultivate. So let me take care of one of them. Oh, did I take care of that thing back in watch? Let me look. Oh yeah, it looks like I took care of setting up the Smart Plan in watch. So now in nurture, I've got 2 things to do. So I got 1 done. I got to work on this one. Great. Close it up. Good to go.
So
And
this is Kanban.
So I don't usually bring that up.
Okay.
I don't usually bring that up. But thank you. That's exactly what's happening here.
Okay.
That is, you nailed it. That's awesome. That's awesome. For those of you who don't know, Kanban is a project management tool. It's used a lot in software development. It's used a lot in business where you're moving things literally through a pipe. And as you do, new objects become available for you to do, new tasks, new things you need to take care of. And as you move through the process, you layer on the things you need to do, and you just literally drag it across to the next ones, and you move it through. So it's a Kanban board. If you've ever used Trello, if you use Jira, any of those tools, it's all the same stuff. Cool. Nice catch. Nice catch. So when you're starting out as a new agent, one of the things that you're going to be faced with is how much of this am I going to do? And I'm going to be honest with you. Now, this is the moment of truth here. Most of you are not going to manage your opportunities to this level where you're going into the boards and you're working in them. Most of them are going to manage them where you're starting at the contact level and you're just going into the opportunity and working the documents and getting it done. I'll bet you most of you are going to forget that this thing is in a phase and a stage. If that's the case, it's okay. The opportunity pipeline will update when you update it, but it does not prevent you from just getting the thing done. So if you're comfortable just moving through the documents and getting the closings and the offers and commissions done, then you're fine. But if you want to take that extra step and have that insight into your business, then the pipeline will really help. And let me show you just as a closing thing here on why it helps. On the pipeline itself, this thing was going to tell you how long your average time in each of these stages and phases is. So right now in the cultivate phase there are 3 stages, right? And right now you got 116 days for 25 transactions. They're sitting there. There's $4 million in volume sitting in that envelope. Now, if you're actively moving things through the pipeline, then those numbers are moving to the right. So right now I've got volume of 0 in my appointments and there's nothing in there. So I'm essentially skipping past that with some of these things. In the active, I've got $580,000 in volume and they've been sitting there for about 180 days. You're not going to be seeing things sit there that long, trust me. But here's the cool thing. From left to right, the percentage of probability increases to getting paid what's in that bucket. The probable income is how much money is sitting in here and where the probability lies that it's going to end up closed. The potential is all the money in this entire pipeline. If you are actively using the pipeline and moving things through and using the checklists, then the potential and the probable are going to get a lot closer, and things are going to rapidly bump up. This number is going to jump faster than this 116 days of $4.9 million in volume sitting there. So if you have one transaction, the pipeline doesn't mean much. But if you start to get to 4, 5, 6, 10 a year, this pipeline really gets you an idea of what your potential and your probable is for each of the pipelines. Okay, that's a lot of data. It's a lot of things that are packed into one section here. At the end of the day, what I want you to take away from this is make sure that you start with a contact. Create the opportunity from the contact. Go into the opportunity itself and manage it. Manage that opportunity as if it is the most important thing that you're managing that day. Because getting this done is going to take priority over the pipeline. You can always come back and modify where things are in the pipeline. You can always kind of re-report it and look at it. Don't focus on that. Focus on getting the work done. And then the pipeline will be a secondary thing to give you that warm fuzzy of, hey, my year's going to look like this. So there you go. Okay, I'll pause for a moment for questions. And if anybody has any, feel free to jump on in. We got Daniel, we got Kelly. Of course, we got David here. David, I'm going to have to start charging you or make you do some of these lessons because you've been here and you're starting to get to be too smart for me. So.
Yeah, right. I take it there's also a series on smart plans. Is that correct?
Yes, we're going to be doing one. I don't think it's this week. I think it's next week. We're going to do Smart Plan Foundations, and that's going to walk you through what they are, how they work, and how to get people on them.
Okay.
Okay, without any questions then, I will go ahead and let you go. As always, you can always reach out to me at robert.vincent@kwclm.com. You can get on my calendar at timewithrobert.com, and you can join the meetings with me at kwtechtv.com. The YouTube channel is kwtechtube.com, which includes this, which is streamed live right now, in addition to all of the recorded material from pretty much, well, since about 3 months ago when we started putting the YouTube together. And then, of course, you can watch this live on Facebook as well under the groups in KWCLM. All right, that does it. Hope you guys have an awesome day, and I guess we're going to talk to you soon.
Yep.
All right. Okay, bye.
Thank you.
You got it.
Thank you.